How's it going, fellas? I'm OrosZ and this is another episode of Terraria, and in today's episode we're, I don't know, doing some shit. We possibly missed another episode. I think I did miss another episode in between those. Look, I got new drill, I got a new axe, and I got a new spinny ball. Oh, never mind. Boss made me a new spinny ball, so I think between this episode, one thing we did for sure was... Yeah, look at all this cool shit I got. And you didn't even get to see me collect it because I lost the footage. We defeated the mechanical worm, I think. Unless we didn't defeat it and we're about to do it. No, we're about to defeat the mechanical worm. So yeah, I didn't miss it. So, and I guess in the last episode what we were doing... We were trying to activate sandstorms and desert and sand and snowstorms. And during the snowstorm there would be an ice golem that shows up. And if you defeat that ice golem you get like an elemental shard, which boss really wanted for his summoning set. I don't know what it did, but he really wanted to get it, so I was helping him get it. And then in the sandstorm, you can run into like tornado summoning motherfuckers, and they also give you elemental shards. And we never got the tornado ones, and I think we gave up on it. But one thing I definitely did is I got the yin element, and I got like a yang element, and I made like a yin yang, whatever the fuck, ball spinning around. And this is an even better variation of that blue one I had before, which I said carried me through most of the game. This is another one that carries me through the rest of the game, until I get an even better one later, which is like a water one. And then later I get a fire one. And then later I get such a good sword that any other ball that is in the game is just completely obsolete because the sword is just absolutely insane. Also, this episode is 50-something minutes long. And I already had difficulty coming up with any kind of fucking subject to talk about last episodes. So you know what I will do? You know what I'll do? You know what I'll fucking do? I'll continue to read these stupid fanfics, how about that? That didn't just... Was the fucking video lagging, or was it my video player? Oh, son of a bitch, now I'm not sure. I ain't sure what just lagged. Whatever, I guess I'll find out later. Let me look up this stupid fucking fanfiction again. I don't even like it all that much. I think the main character is such a bitch. Everything that fucking happens, he just gets fucking scared and runs the fuck away. Pretty much the whole fucking fanfic, he spends bitching about Guide not fucking telling him enough shit, or running away from everything. He builds a wall, he runs away in fear, he chops down a tree, he runs away. He equips an axe, he throws it away in fear. And then he bitches about the Guide being an asshole. Well, the Guide is probably just sick of fucking stupid bitches like him, being scared of literally everything. Yeah, I don't know what we did in this episode, probably some bullshit, maybe not even a single thing. Maybe I spent the whole episode standing in my house and putting things in chests, because I got so much shit and so many chests filled to brim that I just cannot fucking find enough empty space to put my stuff here. What's the fucking fanfic even called? A Reluctant Terrarian, if you want to read it yourself. I don't like it all that much. Chapter 6, Four Walls. If you are content with what you got so far, we can work on walls and roof. Technically the roof will be more of a frame, just overhead, but you can construct it however you'd like. Wait a second. How do I... No, never mind, he stopped himself from asking. And you know what, I fucking read this fanfic, and sometimes I'm like not reading the words right. And I'm like not sure if I'm the dumbass who can't fucking read properly, did he not fucking wrote it properly, I don't know. And I'm keep saying that I'm the dumbass, but maybe this is not even my fault. Also, I got these weird spirits in my equipment. You can see those like animated things that I have in my equipment. I think those came from the wyverns that we fight in the sky. So it kinda sucks that I've lost the last episode, but what can you do? You can't fucking... I can't have multiple save files and replay the shit we already did. Wait a second, how do I... No, never mind, he stopped him from asking and pulled out his axe to remove 2 pieces of wood. So I'm going to have to keep removing and adding these woods every time I want to get in and out of things, he did ask. If you so desire, though I'd think a door would be simpler, God replied. A door? What, do I just think the door and throw wood at the opening? He asked as he tried to adjust that. The wood just added itself back to the frame. No, a door requires a little more than just intent. Great, what do I need to do? Sing the door a song? No, sorry, sing the door song? Dance the door disco? Maybe I should whisper quietly to the wood before I get gently set in place and ask it to be all the door it can be? He shouted. See, he's such a dick. Just let the fucking guy continue explaining how you build a fucking door, you asshole. I made a sneaky chest behind a tree. You can't see the chest. I probably forgot there's a chest later on and fucking left it out there empty. You can do whatever you want, but unless you start by building a workbench, none of it will work, Gal responded, and infuriatingly leveled with a maddening glint of humor in his eyes. A what? He asked, forcibly trying to calm himself down before he blew his top, which would make the entire process even more difficult. A workbench, you'll actually need one to create the walls, so you might as well put one together after you finish with the roof. Recreating an opening after a few failed strikes at the beam in the temper, which centrally didn't help his mood, he walked into the rectangular structure and started chucking wood up and the top of the frame, the roof, even throwing wood at the side of a structure, causing it to take a shape as part of a whole. He was taking advantage of his temper and not thinking too hard about the whole thing. Looking around at the finished frame, he was surprised at how sturdily the whole thing looked. He could believe this thing in its current state was plenty enough to keep the eyes away. His fate was in part thanks to having seen the barrier work the night before, but also because the whole thing just had a very solid look to it. Measuring that against the time and effort put into it just didn't add up, and thinking about it wasn't worth it. You know what, in the previous chapter he said that he built a triangular structure. So does he fucking lives in a wooden triangle now? What happens in this fucking fanfic? Why didn't he just build a square and just lift it that? Why does he need a wall? He doesn't fucking need it. I guess they're trying to reenact this fanfic as if this world, from the perspective of the characters in it, does take place in a 3D environment and not just on a 2D plane. So whatever. Okay, then how do I go about building a workbench, he asked. Well, first thing first, you will need 10 pieces of wood, so you might as well put them out together, this guide began. And then before you ask, yes, you can put them all at once. No, it will not be a giant stack of wood, at least not in the way you're thinking. Unless, of course, you put them out individually, which really isn't necessary. Trying it on his own before he asked, he reached into his pouch and tried to pull out a bundle of 10 pieces of wood. Not sure what to expect, what he got was indeed a bundle of wood, though the number wasn't visibly apparent. He even has to explain the fucking magic behind how wood fucking stocks in the game and you can carry 900 wood with you, but it just shows up as one plank of wood. It's fucking... I don't think it's necessary. I think I would accept the fact that this guy just able to carry 900 wood with him. And I wouldn't fucking question any bullshit like that. I would just accept it as part of the fucking universe, you know? That just happens, it's just normal. It's like trying to make sense out of it and just kind of stupid, I don't know. Blah blah blah, put them individually, trying it on his own, 10 pieces, not sure what to expect. He was indeed a bundle of wood, though it was a number visibly apparent. It was hard to explain what he was seeing. Several pieces of finished wood were stacking together, bound by nothing he could see, but though he could tell there were many pieces of wood there, they weren't in focus. It almost like he could see several pieces of wood at the same time occupying the same space, as if they weren't fully obscure, but they weren't really transparent either. Obscure. which means see-through. The whole thing, while larger than a single piece of wood, didn't weigh or indeed feel like any more than one. His eyes began to feel strained as he looked at it, so he turned his gaze towards Guile, who was just smirking at him from the other side of his structure. Very good, now you need to start envisioning a workbench as you begin to assemble the wood. It should be pretty straightforward from here, Guile informed him. Is he gonna make wooden armor and weapons? How can I envision something I never seen before, he asked. When you say workbench, I just picture a small table. Maybe weight side, just big enough to set things on as I stand beside it. He trailed off, realizing as he spoke that he really did have an alarming clear image of a workbench in his mind's eye, even though he had no recollection of having ever seen one before. Did you guys ever see a workbench? Did you ever see a workbench? I don't know, it's just a table. Anything can be a fucking workbench. Literally a bench for working. I've never seen one before. Just fucking really fucking annoyed right now. I'm just gonna make fun of everything in it. Even though it's not really all that worth making fun of. Maybe the person who wrote it consider this fanfic to be their like magnum opus. It's like the best thing they ever made. And here I am, some asshole, playing Terraria, not even playing it, just sitting watching my own fucking footage from like last month, making fun of his fucking creation. What an asshole, right? Me, of course, not the fucking author of the game, whose name is OrosZ, by the way, so if you want to check out his work on fanfiction.net. Kneeling down in the dirt, he pulled a single piece of wood from the bundle and set it up as a leg. He did these 3 more times before he put beams connecting the 4 legs in place, and finally the last 2 pieces he set on top, creating the surface and finishing the workbench. The whole thing kind of came together in its own volition, with his hands following some greater design. And much like the structure surrounding him, the workbench was both surprisingly solid and seamlessly held together. Attached to the otherwise smooth surface was a rather crude representation of the trees that were used in its construction. Running his hand across the surface, he noticed that the image, while looking attached, didn't actually break the smoothness, and had the eye stainingly solid but not look to it that a bundle of wood did. It also helped some kind of... No, didn't lag, okay. It also held some kind of energy, some of a gentle thrumming that he didn't really see, or feel in a way that he could describe to someone else. He didn't quite know what to make of it. Standing up, he backed away from it slowly. After a few steps, the thrumming stopped and a light shiver danced down his spine as his body adjusted to the loss of the strange sensation. Okay then, what now? He asked. Not sure he wanted to keep working with this thing. Now that you got a workbench, you'll be able to build a much higher range of things. The workbench focuses more of this world's magic than you can currently focus on your own work, Gal informed him from the other side of the bench. To make a door, assemble 6 pieces of wood into a frame, and just as it happens with the workbench, it will come together from there. Putting 6 pieces of wood out, he tried to figure out how to put them together in a way that resembles a door, and had no idea how a door looked, because he's a fucking idiot. Just kidding, that's not what he said. I had no luck doing so. Yeah, it's not working. You're standing too far away from the workbench. Typically you build a door on the workbench, but you don't necessarily have to. You do, however, have to be close enough for it to focus energy into your construction, Gal instructed him. Couldn't he just say, like, you have to fucking walk up to a workbench to build it on the workbench and not just in the air? You ever try to do something like in the air? Like when you try to, I don't know, unscrew something? But you're just like doing it like in the air instead of like putting something on a table and then unscrewing it. Like, that would have been a better explanation as to why he can't put a door together. Yeah, not liking the idea of being too close to the thing. He figured it didn't hurt him. It just made him feel strange. Then again, everything in this place was pretty strange. So what could it hurt? Stepping back up to it, he felt the same thumbing. The sensation must be the energy that was focusing. The fuck is he talking about? What fucking? That was just a wooden fucking little table. Look how many I have in this house. One. Yeah, I got one. I don't need more. I can't fucking wait for this fanfic to get to the really weird shit, like the Eye of Cthulhu. Placing the wood onto the workbench was pretty obvious what he's been doing it wrong before. The fact kind of upset him, just being near the thing was enough to mess up his mind. Oh, my fucking phone is all covered in weird shit. What else was going on that he wasn't quite aware of? Putting the wood together as the door, and watching it change shape dramatically to become the door didn't upset him as much as knowing how to make it happen did. He noticed also that the wood began taking on the shape of a door. The thumbing of the workbench intensified. What thumbing of a workbench? What is he talking about? I don't understand this shit. Lifting the door, well, maybe this is just too fucking deep for me to understand. Maybe I'm not maybe I'm not smart enough. Lifting the door, he wasn't really surprised by how light it was. Walking over to the opening in the frame, he tried to find a way to attach the door, with no luck. There were two problems. One, the door was taller than the opening. Two, the door didn't have any obvious method of affixing it to the frame. Figuring he could resolve the higher problem issue, he leaned the door against the wall and took his axe to one of the beams above the opening. Just as before, the opening was cleanly extended upwards and now seemed to be the perfect size for a door. Placing the door in the frame, I'm kind of rubbing my microphone. Can you hear that actually? I hope you can't. Placing the door in the frame, he watched frustrated as the door simply fell through the opening. Angrily, he walked to the other side. He picked up the door and threw it at the opening, trying to get it to just work. Which of course it did. Fascinating. Oh, it did. Before it said it didn't. Fastening itself into the frame as it had been built onto it in the beginning. You got to be kidding me. Do I just have to throw things around here to get them to work? He shouted at no one in particular. The door opened out towards him and the guy answered from the other side. "No, you just seem to focus the right way when you're angry. Perhaps you should figure out why that is. And then you can build as you wish. Unless of course you want to build things in a temper, as you've been doing. There's nothing wrong with that." He finished with a re-smirk. What the fuck is that? I don't know, guys. Taking a deep breath before he answered, "No, I don't like needing to be angry for things to work. And in fact, I don't particularly like being angry at all. But ever since I woken up yesterday, everything I deal with has just been ridiculous." He ended with his voice raised. "Ridiculous as compared to what exactly?" Guile asked him, giving him a look that seemed to see more than it should have. I don't know," he admitted. "I just know nothing here seems right, not even you. And every time I turn around, I'm having to deal with something else that works or acts in a way that I don't understand. I'm just waiting for you to freak out on me again and tell me how awesome it would be to dance in my viviscated remains. But it's not like I have any idea what I'm doing without you, so I have no choice but to hope you feel generous enough." Also, what the hell did I just did? What was that sound? Oh, I summoned a bunny. You can summon pets to your towns. They don't, I don't think. I think they increase happiness. Not much else. Blah blah blah. Tell me how awesome it is to dance in my remains, but it's not like I have any idea what I'm doing without you, so I have no choice but to hope you feel generous enough to teach me how things work before you do," he vented. A low hollow chuckle that seemed to come from the air around him, a glance that was as much guile it was something else, and shiver that dropped from the base of his neck to the base of his spine before splashing back to settle beneath his shoulder blades was the reply he got. Backing a few steps away from the house, he looked up to see Guile was looking through him again with the surreal color of his eyes. A color that he only really noticed when Guile was acting up. What is happening? What is that music? Oh, this might have been another attempt at trying to get the storm to activate. Or maybe not, I have no fucking idea what we're doing in this episode. It doesn't help that I'm not even looking at the screen. I don't remember where I left. Oh yeah, we were playing on hard mode, that's why we got so fucked up. Avoid that whispered along the echoing remnants of Giles' low chuckle began. "How little you understand, you plight. You speak of ignorance as a curse, and yet it is the last blessing remaining to you." The voice seemed so lazily, though. Fucking drift lazily through the air, visibly coming from Giles' lips, but audibly ignoring that point of origin. "Heed your instructions well while you are allowed it, and perhaps you will survive long enough to cast off your blessing in whole." The last few words crept up from behind him and faded just as they reached his ear, taking the shiver with them as they did. His shoulders relaxing a tightness he'd not noticed setting in. The fading voice took that look from Giles' eyes with it, as it left the strength speed out of Giles. He leaned onto his door frame and collecting himself before looking up at him. "Let's finish these walls then. You're really not going to explain that to me, are you?" he asked. "You got the workbench, so really you're almost there," Giles answered, either missing his question or more likely dodging it. He decided not to pursue the issue and instead followed Giles into the frame. Standing beside the workbench, he knew that he had to put the walls together without asking his guide. He took a piece of wood and pressed it onto the workbench. The foaming of the workbench increased and the wood flattened out, taking the shape of 4 small wooden panels. He bit down his unease and placed those big bags. Pulling out another piece of wood, he continued his process for a while. The work was mechanical, and after a few pieces he allowed his mind to wander a bit. What was he doing here? Not literally and now, but going forward. He didn't really know where he came from, so it's like he could just jump back home, and even assuming he knew where he came from, he didn't know where he was currently, so with no basis for direction he could wander forever. And what should he make of Guile? There was obviously something very wrong with him. In truth, he not actively tried to harm him in any way so far, but he wasn't so sure he liked relying on him as much as he did. Guile did say something about there being others. Perhaps he'd find one of them and see what they knew. So what's next? He was building up a nice little shack in the middle of nowhere. What are we doing right now? I don't know. This is the sandstorm I was talking about. Maybe I did this episode and not the previous one. I don't know. So what's next? Here he was building up a nice little shack in the middle of nowhere, but to what end? Was he planning on holding up there until he was educated on the way of the land? How long would that take? He was just going along with Guile to keep some kind of forward momentum at this point, and until he was more confident in his knowledge of the world around him, he decided that he might as well keep playing along. You know what's funny? The guide in my fucking playthrough, I never even asked him any help, because I had a way better guide and former boss. You do realize, Guile interrupted, his mind wandering, that you can process an entire stack of wood at once. I was reluctant to interrupt such an introspective moment, but if you wish to finish the structure before the night rises again, it would certainly speed things along to do so. "Why are you helping me to build the structure anyway?" he asked, still proceeding forward as he had been. "Again, with having me repeat myself, there are things. No, I mean, why? Why not leave me to get eaten if you would bring such joy? Why not just go on about your own way and ignore me? What's your motive here?" interrupted both Guide and his work. "As I said in the beginning, I am here to guide you. This is my role to play," Guide answered. "And who gave you this role?" He probed. Ah, jeez. "That is not important. You should be more concerned with your role than with me," was his answer. "Okay, then what's my role?" he asked. The small smile that peeked from his corner of Gile's lips brought the presence with it. In the same low, hollow voice from before he answered, "This is for you to decide. Your life is yours to end as you wish, and I wouldn't dream of changing that." Fighting the chill that wrapped around him as Gile spoke, his attempt at aggressive reply sounded meek even before he opened his mouth. "And what if it's not my life I choose to end?" he managed to go out. A deep, cruel, hollow laughter that filled the entire frame slowly seeped from Gile's lips, responding with a possibly amplified by the walls far louder than any of the men should have been able to proceed. Not only just the frame, but seemingly everything within it too, the laughter devoid of any semblance of mirth seemed, of course, through every fiber of being, drowning out the resonance of the workbench as if to demonstrate how insignificant he was. Even just in comparison to the sound of his voice, making it worse was the lack of any real expression on Giles' face beyond the slight smirk and icy gaze. Why the fuck is the guy such a fucking weird motherfucker in this fanfic? In the fucking game, he's just some nice guy who offers you information and he's into furries and shit. In this guide, he's like some psychopath who just enjoys fucking guiding people but see them fail anyway. Too shaken up to consider a rebuttal, he wasn't sure what to do from here, though he was positive he didn't want to take his eyes off of Gal when he was like this. As the laughter faded, even the resonance of the workbench was a welcome sensation. Shit, my throat. Fleshling, you do amuse me. Play your role well enough, and perhaps I'll allow you the opportunity to make that choice. Gal responded. What the fuck, allow him? Gal has nothing to fucking say. He's not like his fucking boss. Man, they made the guy such a fucking asshole in this fanfic. They made him so important. Well, he's not really. He's a blue bitch. See, I don't like this fanfic. Fighting the urge to run, he instead stood his ground and waited for Gal to continue. After a few moments of forcing himself to meet Gal's gaze, he broke and looked down at the workbench. The hollow chuckle dropped with Gal to the floor on the other side, and he looked up to see his guide take a shuddering breath that did nothing to interrupt the slowly fading sound. Losing his strength now that the presence had left, he too fell to the ground and almost broke down in his frustration. This was the person he relied on to teach him how to survive. He could almost believe that everything he did was in fact just one more step on the path on his own demise. Upsetting as that was, it was worse to think that he was almost okay with that, so long as he did in fact get to choose his path up to that point. So, Giles spoke up from the other side of the workbench, sounding as if he just barely summoned up the energy to speak. Ready to finish these walls now? He couldn't help it. He laughed at the ridiculousness of the situation. Tears threatening to complement his inappropriate response. Sure. Chapter 7, the second night. And each chapter's name is kind of shit. So, you see these tornadoes? Whenever these tornadoes show up, somewhere on the desert. Oh, it's right over there. There's these fucking monsters. No, it wasn't that thing. There's these monsters. And there's these like golems, elemental whatevers. And if you kill them, if you murder them with cold blood, you get some cool elemental shards or whatever the fuck. And we're just halfway through the video. Let's read another fucking chapter, shall we? Chapter 7. I wish the chapters would get fucking shorter, but they're the same fucking length every time, and this one seems even longer than the previous one. Chapter 7, the second night. Ah, good lord. Getting up, he reached into his pouch to see how many panels he managed to produce. Closing his eyes, he sensed a large stack of panels among the other contains. Focusing on them, he knew somehow that there were 188 in the stack. Both the total and his strange confidence in their count surprised him. These bags must have an endless capacity for holding things, feeling around some more. He counted 82 pieces of wood, his sword, his axe, his pickaxe, 2 sticks with that glowing goop on them, 2 mushrooms, 19. He had to pull one out and look at it to be sure. But he did indeed have 19 giant acorns, which he assumed came from trees, but he did not notice them at the time, and 1 small green blob. Opening his eyes, he pulled the blob out of his pouch to look it over. It felt strangely solid in his hand. It was definitely gelatinous, but the outer membrane felt pretty substantial. Toying around with it for a moment, he realized it must have come from the blob he killed the night before. This was probably his heart or something like that, and it was strange to hold it, remembering how barely he managed to destroy the thing. Putting the blob back on and taking the panel out in his pack, he walked over to the wall, looking up at the sky of the frame. He was through the frame. He was surprised by how far the sun has gone, and it wouldn't be too long before nightfall. Figuring if he was going to get this done, he better start now. He walked over to the corner. He tried to place the wooden panel over the frame near the floor. At first nothing happened. The panel just sat there in front of the frame. Taking a deep breath and focusing on what he was trying to accomplish, he picked up the panel back up and tried to press it into the frame. so that it would become a part of the wall. As the panel connected with the frame, the entire corner changed to accommodate the wooden panel. Strangely, both sides of the frame, in a section hardly the size of the panel originally, were covered by wooden paneling. While he hadn't expected the outside of the frame to change as well, he was happy not to have to worry about doing it as well. Placing a second piece of paneling above the first and then another above that one and two more before drawing one into the corner of the ceiling, he was happy to note after testing it out a bit that the entire column of paneling was seemingly integrated with the frame. Setting a panel in its floor level again besides the column he just finished to continue solidifying the frame. You know what would be cool if I did in this playthrough, which I didn't build a basement, and my previous playthrough, the one that I finished with boss as well, we made a tower and then we made like an enormous basement in the ground. It was really awesome. Boss made it when I wasn't playing around, because that one time it was him playing, not me. Also, I'm burning to death right now. I hope I did notice that in time before I die. All through his work, guys, paced around the room, not meeting his eyes and occasionally wandering outside, but never going too far. He was surprisingly irked that Cloud seemed content to let him do all the work, but didn't feel it prudent to harass him about it. Besides, it wasn't like it was difficult work, just time-consuming. After he finished, though, he was appreciably tired and a little hungry. For a moment he considered sitting to relax on a workbench, but as he approached it, a better idea came to mind. Putting out 4 pieces of wood, he placed them on one leg at a time onto the workbench, and then he sat on the last piece and a leg. And as he set the last leg in place, the workbench thumped and the work took on the shape of a chair. Knowing that it was the influence of the workbench that gave him the idea, not quite liking that, they even explained the fact that you can only craft stuff when you're near a workbench, and he interpreted that as if the workbench gives him ideas of what to build and it has like a presence around it. I always assumed that in the game explanation is that you just cannot craft doors in like on the floor. You have to walk up to a workbench, but you still know how to fucking make doors. Alright. Not quite liking that. He busied himself with a second chair before taking them away from the bench and setting them against the wall furthest from the door. I wonder when some other NPCs are gonna show up. Pulling one of the 2 mushrooms out of his pouch, he ate it, again washing away his hunger, and offered the other one to his restless guide. "No, thank you," guide responded. Placing it back into his pouch, he asked, What has you got you so antsy? All yesterday and earlier today you've been content to just stand around watching me work, but it seems as the night's grown closer, you've not been able to keep still." "If you're lucky, I'm just restless," was his answer. "And if I'm not," he asked, "pray that you are," was his only response, and he looked out the opening closet of the door. The fuck he means, like, he wants to kill him? He moved out of the chair. Maybe this is like some kind of fucking horror fanfic, actually. Maybe this is a creepypasta with a guy being a murderer. That would actually be a cool spin. He moved out of one of the chairs over to the opening panel of the side of the structure and looked outside for himself. The sun had finally set and evening was slowly creeping in. He couldn't continue to ignore the panic that had been building up in the back of his consciousness while he's been working. What if this wasn't good enough? What if the eyes and the Walking Dead could get to him in here? As solid as the whole thing looked while he'd been building it, he suddenly felt exposed. He tried to remember which way they've got here from so that he could possibly find the cave again. "The moon is rising. We'll be safe tonight," Guide said to him, causing him to jump as he lost himself in his concerns. "What?" he asked a little more anxiously than he would have preferred. "The moon is rising and there is nothing to worry about for tonight," Guy repeated himself unhelpfully. "Okay then, so if the moon wasn't rising, I'd be having something to be worried about?" he tried asking again. "No, a new moon is no reason for concern if you are safely ensconced for the evening," Guy replied. "You know what? Forget it. I'm just glad you're not freaking out on me again tonight. I'm not interested in trying to translate you crazy right now. All I care about is that you're sure that things are going to keep the eyes and the Walking Dead out, right?" he asked instead. Shit, I hit my fucking leg. The structure is solid, the zombies and demon eyes will not... Actually, are they called demon eyes? They might be. Demon eyes will not find their way in tonight. Gal answered not really comfortingly. Wait, they won't find their way in tonight? What is that supposed to mean? Are you telling me they're going to eventually break their way in? And they're going to wait until I gotten comfortable thrusting this thing before you decide to let them come in and tear me limb from limb? What are we fighting? Oh, the twins. They're basically just two eyes of Cthulhu, but one of them turns into a... One of them shoots lasers. They're kind of annoying, the way they move around and shit. They're kind of tough, actually. He shouted, standing up and putting the chair between him and Guy. Not that I really afforded any kind of protection. A smile crept into Guy's face, though not to call it frequently smirk, just what looked like genuine amusement. "You truly trust me so little?" he asked. Like no one interrupts me today. "Now who's the one asking stupid questions?" he retorted. "It's not like you've really done too much to endear yourself to me." "Be that as it may, I also not done anything that would cause you harm. In fact, I'd say my actions have done you nothing but good since you first awoken. Small verbal tics aside," Guide stated. "Small verbal tics? Really? There's something seriously wrong with you. A small verbal tics doesn't nearly cover it," he shot back. Chuckling now, Guile? I'm never sure if you think Guide or Guile. Guile merely shrugged and looked back on the opening near the door, turning towards his opening. His stomach dropped at the face filling the hall. He wasn't sure what he expected The Walking Dead to look like, but the face that almost looked like it had been human at one point before the elements had taken their toll was rather horrible to behold. Falling over himself in the rush to get away from the thing, he also fell over the chair and ended up rapping Jesus Christ, rapping the side of his head rather seriously against the workbench. The stars he saw were very close, and to punctuate the fright, the thing began to low moan that seemed to have soap out of it, and cut its way through the wall and to its bones. That was a horrible sound, and added to its recent impact, it was all he could do to keep his stomach. It was all he could do to his stomach. Guile began to laugh a bit more earnestly, and it wasn't hollow or empty, just inappropriate and aggravating. "What's so funny?" he half shouted, squeezing his eyes shut as he held onto his head where he had connected with the bench. "Even knowing that you're safe within these walls, you still jump at the sight of a zombie," Guile responded. The laughter still evaded in his tone. "I don't know I'm safe yet," he snapped back. "I don't know I'm safe until I make it to tomorrow," he added, looking up as he did to see if the zombie was still in the opening. It was not, and his gut lodged once more. He could have sworn the structure shook from the impact that it was probably one of those eyes. Accompanying the impact was a hollow moan, this time cutting through the roof instead of the wall he's been standing next to, and of course the zombie's face was filling one of the openings of the roof. Why does he have openings on the roof? So we're fighting the twins, one of them spits green fire, and a fucking wyvern showed up. So that's great. He was starting to freak out. His heart began racing, the room was suddenly far too small, and who was he kidding about this thing being solid? He had left holes all over it, and walls were nowhere near thick enough. Any moment of these things out there could come crashing through the door. Looking over to where Guile was standing, he suddenly realized how thin the door he put together was, and not only that, but any moment now Guile would probably start acting up and decided it would be fun to let the Walking Dead into the house. As if in response to his raising fear, the door shook with the next thunk from one of those flying eyes. Fucking onomatopoeias, fucking imitating sounds, and I don't really want to read all that shit. Maybe I'll finish it before the episode ends. Shaken in terror, sweat suddenly soaked from his dirty, trouble-torn clothes, he was very aware of every little noise and how incapable of protecting himself from anything out there he was. Using the workbench to help him pull himself up, he didn't trust his feet as much as he would have liked. Walking over to Guile, he stumbled out, "Just get away from the door." "This door?" Guile asked, as to an innocent look on his face as he stepped towards it. Almost sticking his feet, He instead felt as someone was taking an icy grip on them, and for a few brief seconds he thought Guile was about to open the door. Falling towards, he reached out to stop Guile from doing so, and ended up landing on the door instead. The moaning sound was coming from right of the other side of the door, and to punctuate it, a slow but steady knock began as he fell against the door. His heart nearly stopped until he realized he hadn't accidentally opened the door. However, he was afraid to move, even though he could feel every knock in more than just one physical sense. He wasn't sure how much longer he'd be able to hold on to what little composure he had left. What if, speaking of the furry chick again, what if he wrote it when the Journeys update was out, and he had to explain how the door opens on its own too? Because I don't think before the Journey update the doors were not opening on themselves when you approach them like that. It sounds like they want in, Guile chimed in front right behind him. Get a he slurred his words in response, wildly flying his hands behind him to ward Guile off, his mind vividly running through all the different ways of which a human body could be pulling apart through a doorway. Funk. The door shuddered. He leaped backwards, screaming, trying to get away from it, expecting zombies to come pouring through. He was confused by the sudden silence before the hand grabbed his shoulder, sending him jumping forward to the wall beside the door and face to face with something that had maybe once looked human. Its reaction was intense. One moment it was close enough to whisper secrets from beyond the grave to him, and the next its hand was through the opening, clawing its full purchase on his scalp. One hand managed to get a good clump of hair tangled into its furry grasp, and the thing attempted to pull him through the opening with an alarming strength. The screams that filled the structure were distant and detached, almost as if they belonged to someone else. His mind had left, and any sense of control and composure had left with it. His word was a whirlwind of barely felt sensations, happening almost in slow motion. His face was being repeatedly crushed against the frame around the opening as he felt the zombies try to pull him through the hole far too small to fit through. The creatures moaning were now mixed with an almost extinct sound, screeching hiss that accompanied its assault on his skull. Trying hopelessly to pull its hand from his scalp, he didn't even have the frame of mind to put a weapon out. As his fingers sunk into the rotting flesh, his stomach didn't bother to respond with the sickness he would have normally felt. It was too busy trying to escape the body that was stubbornly refusing to fall off through the little opening in the wall. And the guy doesn't even fucking bother to help him, what an asshole. In a desperate effort to break free, he used the wall to brace his feet and pushed away from the opening. He could hear as well as feel the hair being pulled from his scalp as he managed to break free from its grips. The last thing he heard as his head connected rather soundly with what he imagined must have been the workbench was a cruel low laughter that carried his consciousness into the rapid accompanying darkness. Shit, that's where the chapter ends. He probably dies. Chapter 8, A Brighter Day. This is 8 out of 30 chapters, by the way. I am definitely not finishing reading this fucking fanfic, but I definitely do enjoy reading it a little bit. Describe your YouTube channel in 5 words. I like to finish games. I make Let's Plays. Bitch. Let's Plays of various games. How do you fucking spell various? Yeah, I was right. I should have a little more trust in myself. Is off a word? Or is it like a... something else? You You know what I always hear, like, how much there's Let's Play, how many fucking Let's Play channels there are, and I sincerely believe that if I would start making Let's Plays the fucking day I watched other Let's Players when it was still, like, really popular, when I was, like, really into it, and other people still watched it, if I started now, by today, I would probably be a popular Let's Player. You know, but that's not gonna happen. Also, I like how I put windows on the second floor, because I felt it would be nice, but then I never put windows anywhere else. Because, I don't know, I was actually, honestly, fucking lazy with this house. I didn't even bother to make it look nice. I didn't bother to put any decorations in or anything. And now we're just going to stand still. Not do anything. By the way, I try to make my character in Far Cry 5 look like Haru from Persona 5, because you can have haircut that she has. So I try to make her. And no, I did not make another OC. Once I got an eye patch, I could make the same OC I made in like a World, where it was like some blonde chick with an eye patch. What happened to Big Time Rush? You guys remember Big Time Rush on Nickelodeon? They were like a real band. They made a fucking TV show, kind of like Drake and Josh, after them. And I used to watch it a lot. I really liked it. I think their fucking manager was like the best character. He was like constantly fucking angry and pissed off at them. Yeah, we're fighting mimics now for some reason. I don't know. I think boss wanted something out of him. My throat really fucking hurts by now. I've been sitting here for 3 fucking hours talking about shit. Non-goddamn stop. Look, he made like a cool thing. It's kinda like my ball, a little bit, maybe. Or maybe not. Man, people simping for fucking anime characters. Brother. How much until the end? Yeah, so we're just going to fight mimics over and over. Did these tough ones. I think boss is trying to get something rare out of them. Cause like... oh look. Grand Theft Auto is getting another update and comes with a really cool graphic. It kinda looks like Vice City. It really does. It has like palm trees in the background and everything. I mean, I know fucking Los Santos has palm trees and everything. Grand Theft Auto Online Los Santos Summer Special. And I don't know, but the logo they used for it kinda looks like something... kinda looks like something Vice City could possibly fucking use. Yeah, even people in the comments were saying how it looks like Vice City. Like it could possibly be some teaser. I don't fucking think so, but maybe. How long? Jesus Christ. Still a while to go. Oh, brother. Another annoying thing about sitting here for 3 fucking hours is the fact that I closed the windows and everything, and it's just really fucking hot in here now. And I really hate it. Apparently Spider-Man is gonna be exclusive for the Marvel Avengers games, only on PS5 or 4 or whatever the fuck. I guess 4 comes out on this generation. And what I decided to do, I don't think I'll be getting PS4 when it comes out. I think maybe next year I'll get it. Maybe I'll get a PSVR. Because I'm expecting to start work and get some fucking money finally, because I have not been working before. I found a cool little knife. This knife does a cool little thing, actually. I don't know, have I shown you right now, or haven't done that yet? But it is a cool thing. I think I'm gonna die to a mimic. Maybe the boss was fucking spawning so many of them I wouldn't die to one. Check it out, this knife, you throw a knife, but then it kind of like flies around. This weapon he has is kind of cool. Yeah, these like spears and shit, they kind of look cool actually. Oh no, my TV. And these fucking 4 spiders following him around are kind of cute. Yeah, I like this dagger, except it kind of sucks. Worm hook. Oh, it's a hook. It's not a weapon. Ah, it sucks, kind of. And this star cannon I was carrying around, I'm not even carrying ammunition for it. Put it away. But now I got a new gun, and I don't know what ammunition it uses. And I don't think I figured it out. And I just simply replaced it later on, so I never even got to see how the fuck this gun even works. I never got a mini shark in this game. You can get a minigun in the game, and then you can find the shark, I think, and you can combine the shark with a gun, and you can get a mini shark. And now I'm thinking about it, I wonder if this fucking fanfic ever like gets into the weird fucking shit in Terraria and tries to make sense out of it. Like guys, like, oh, you know, not everything in this world makes sense. Maybe I'm just gonna finish the commentary right now instead of waiting another minute of not saying anything important just to fucking... Oh look, I get these cool goggles, I think I'm wearing those now. Yeah, check out my style, they look cool now. This fucking green hat was stupid. I look really stupid in it. I got like this weird block that keeps changing colors. Wonder what a house built out of this would look like. Probably really stupid. But see you fellas in the next episode, bye.